So in this little series of principles of Pilates, I can kind of equate this one to lots of things in everyday life, and that's flow, finding a rhythm and a flow in your mat session, but also with everything that you do in life. You create like a system on how you do things. Like when you make a cup of tea, you don't, at some point you're going to boil the kettle. You might have an image in your head, you want a cup of tea, what do you go and do first? You go and fill the kettle up, we go and check you've got water to actually boil. Or do you get the milk out first of the fridge and then go and put water in the kettle? Or do you put your sugar in your tea bag in a cup first, but you have to get the cup out of the cupboard or off the hook first? So there's a system that you work through to get whatever it is you want to get at the end of the day. There's a way when you go for a drive, the first thing you do is look for your keys, and then you go to the car to unlock the door. You don't go to the car, well, some people do, I know I've done that before. Where are my keys? Oh, they're still in the house. So you have like a system of how you work, yes. Same as when you brush your teeth, you go looking for the toothbrush first or the toothpaste, and then you put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Or if you forget sometimes, like, oh, I've forgotten to put the toothpaste on, but you just don't go to your teeth first. You actually get to the toothbrush first. So there's a system and there's a flow. So your body is exactly the same as finding this within movement. There's a pattern, and often when we're in certain positions, when we're sitting a lot over the laptop, over the computer, depending on what you do for a living, you tend to find a certain posture becomes a habit and can create your posture, whether it's through habit of movement or not moving very well, or thoughts that are going on in your head, to a reaction to what's going on in the world around you. So a lot of fear can create this tightness in the chest, and worry and anxiety, which can affect your breathing and your posture and your neck and your ribs and your back and your hips and your feet. So when you look at it from a fascial point of view, Thomas Myers' amazing anatomy trains work. If you look at the back line, the blue stuff's all fascia, you can see that if you've got a tight neck, it will affect your back, because it all connected here down into the back of your legs. So if your calves are tight, if you've got tight calves, if you do quite a bit of walking, or if you, for some reason, if you wear high heels, your calves are tight, it can affect your glutes, but also affect your hamstrings. Your hamstrings are tight, they too can affect your glutes, but also affect what's going on in your back and in your neck. So the brain has a system of how things connect and work, and when something fails on that line, it will take up the slack somewhere else. Which is why when someone says they've got back pain, not usually the back that is the problem. It could be overworking for something else. And then you look at the front line, you can see if you've had any injuries, surgeries, scars around here, it will affect the breathing here, up here in your sternum. It will affect your quads, going down into the front of your shins and underneath your feet. So the back and the front line can affect each other. So if your front line is tight, from sitting at a computer, around your shoulders, hunching over that, like I do a lot of editing of photographs as well and things like that. So that can also affect what's happening here, affect your breathing and your shoulders, will also affect what's happening at the back of the body. So it has a system, there's a flow. And there's a flow within the session. So sometimes when I'm teaching, it can seem a little bit slow. You can slow down the movement so you can notice where your compensation patterns are coming in, where your habits are coming in, where that tight shoulder comes in, where that jaw comes in, where that holding the breath comes in, where that tightness of your hip comes in. So you're noticing where your flow is, where is your rhythm. If you watch some of the amazing dancers, or if you watch some of the tennis, really advanced athletic tennis players, watching someone like Rafael Nadal, for example, when you're watching them play, there's a flow and a rhythm to what they're doing. It's not clunky, they make it look effortless. And when you try it yourself, it's like, oh, blimey, I'm exhausted, my arm's killing me, my hips ache, where's your foot placement, where's your hip placement, what's your back doing, what's your shoulder blade doing? I tell the mechanics of it, when you break it down and you see it in slow motion, it's very complicated movement. So your brain is considering all of these little movements all at the same time, within a split second of each other, all joining up together from your feet all the way up to the top of your head, all the way down to your tips of your fingers. So there's this flow and there's this rhythm. Sometimes the flow can be quite slow and methodical and with intention in order to find that you can do it when you practice and you practice and you practice, that it looks effortless. So when you have these athletes, when they've been practicing for so long, it looks effortless. They are moving with ease and with a rhythm. And that comes through practice, repetition, and noticing, not just the repetition, but noticing where you're moving from. It's not about getting your leg all the way up there when you're doing your side leg lifts, and it's not about doing 100 press-ups, and it's not about doing all the sit-ups and all the crazy stuff. Like, where are you moving from? What is it that is guiding that movement? Because if it's out of flow and out of touch, then there'll be the bigger muscles won't be taking over, the antagonist and synergist of whatever muscle group it is, and then you can start to find that you get injured, or that the rhythm isn't there, the structure isn't there, and you start to notice a little niggle in your back or niggle in your shoulder, and that's when you might have to go to a physio to get it sorted out. And that's when people say, Pilates doesn't work for me, it's rubbish. So slow it down, find the flow. Where are you actually moving from? It's not about the big movements. What are you using to get there? Are you hiking up your hip? Are you shortening your waist to lift your leg? When you're in the shoulder bridge, are you arching your back to get your hips up there? And in arm movements, are you hiking up your shoulder blade to move your arm? When you do that, you're not going to get very far. When your shoulders are down, you can get up a lot further. And the head turns. Are you hiking up your side and your shoulder to turn your head? So the flow is important. And you'll notice that, when I'm doing editing my photographs as well, there's a flow. Where do you start? What are you looking at? You're looking at the contrast, looking at the brightness, looking at the tone. Are you changing the saturation? Are you doing clarity? And all these different things. You find this rhythm and this workflow. That makes sense? So if you sit at the computer, you have a workflow. When you're going out for a walk, how do you walk? How does your feet move? Do you land on your heel? Do you land on the front of your foot? Do you roll on the inside edge? Do you roll on the outside edge? How do you flow when you're walking? How do you move when you're swimming? How does your arms move? What do your shoulders do? How do your legs move? So finding flow is a principle in Pilates, and quite an important one, to bring everything together, to bring the movements together. There's a method in the madness. Yes, there's method in the method. So happy practicing, and stick with the practice, and every time you practice you start a little bit more, just clicks into place. Like every time you practice, like putting an extra piece in the jigsaw, and it all starts to come together until you see the grand picture.